My name's Douglas Kell. I'm a professor, in fact, in a chemistry department at the University of Manchester. So, probably the first one, because he was a great god of the discipline. I did my DPhil in bioenergetics, was Peter Mitchell, who is a name that will surprise some people because I'm fairly well known as not having agreed with his science. Although that was the 1966 version, I agree with all the 1961 version, which completely overturned the field and really people didn't expect that biochemistry would involve biophysics in the way that his ideas suggested that it would. And he completely dominated the field of bioenergetics when I was doing my DPhil, and one clearly cannot but have been influenced by him, not least because he did his science in a very unusual way, which was because of he had tinnitus and was a bit unwell. He gave up being at the University of Edinburgh and went down and set up his own research institute in the wilds of Cornwall because he was independently wealthy, and then dreamed up his persuasive experiments in the mid-60s and did them there. And that was quite an unusual thing for that time, or indeed any time, at least outside the Victorian era. Necessarily, my DPhil supervisors were very inspirational. They taught me how to do science, how to write, how to think, what precision of thought meant, when you wanted a hypothesis and when you didn't, and how to go about the business of, as it used to say in the rubric for a DPhil study, learning the methods of scientific research. And of course, inevitably one's supervisors taught one that. Philip in particular, when I wrote my first article, would start off with the first word and say, well, Douglas, when you say "the," do you actually mean "the"? And we would go through the whole sentence word by word, and then the whole paragraph sentence by sentence. And after a bit of this, you automatically did it yourself, and you tried to make sure that you meant what you said and you said what you meant. And of course now it's second nature. I'd also stress, and this is a quote from Brenner, often re-quoted, science advances by new techniques, new developments and new ideas, probably in that order. Another quotation that I quite like comes from John Maynard Smith, and it goes, biology is not hard in the way that physics can be hard. Maynard Smith was a physicist originally. If biology is hard, it is because of the number and nature of things that one must hold in one's head at one time. And I think that's true as well. If I think about the things that I regard as the greatest leaps of the imagination in biology, I think the one that stands out for me is Fred Sanger inventing DNA sequencing. It was such an unexpected and clever way of doing this otherwise intractable looking problem of finding a run of things that only had 4 letters in the alphabet and thousands of those letters in the organism of interest, which in the first case was 5x174, which had 5,000 of them. So we have now increased since Sanger's 77 paper 10 to the power 10 times the rate at which we can sequence genomes. And I think that's a bellwether for the kinds of advances that are going to be coming in the future in biology, have come in the recent past in biology, and will be done by the scientists who inspire in biology.